Welcome back to r/LegalAdvice, where people ask questions, get advice, and we get satisfaction. Today we will focus on some legal advice stories from the UK, and by the way, if you haven't already, please don't forget to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/ripeyoutube for exclusive Reddit content. Without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, "My neighbor stole the expensive fence work I paid for." And by the way guys, this was posted on r/LegalAdvice UK. England, we have a boundary fence that is owned by our neighbor. The deed says it is their responsibility. However, they are actually not next door neighbors, so to speak. It is a strange garden configuration and they actually live on a cul-de-sac that is a few minutes walk away, but that long fence is theirs. We have just had about £9,000 of work done landscaping our garden, and one part was spending quite a lot of money treating the fences, sanding, preparing, removing the algae and then double painting them to a lovely color. All finished, 5 days of work, and they look fantastic. Fast forward 3 days after the job was concluded and we get home from shopping only to find that they have lifted all 19 fence panels and turned them 180 degrees. And now they've got all of the panels that we worked on facing inward to their garden, and we've got the same ugly panels we started with. I've been over there twice and I know they are in, but they are not answering the door on purpose because they can see me on their Ring doorbell. I would like to solve this amicably, but do I actually have any rights here? And a user in the comments said, I mean, it is a bad thing for them to do, but they own the fence. I don't think you have any comeback. To be honest, while I completely understand you being annoyed, the sheer audacity of what they have done is hilarious. It is so cheeky that you kind of have to admire the chutzpah. Whatever that means, I'm not sure by the way. And the next one is an update to the neighbor stealing the fence story. After an entertaining bout of Reddit, I cannot believe that I am able to write this. I am so happy. So, this afternoon my wife and our 2 little girls walked to the neighbors with a case of Moretti beer by way of apology. When I went round last time, I saw that their recycling was out with loads of bottles of Moretti in, so I figured it is what they drink. The wife opened the door and was confused about who we were and why we were there, but I explained that we were apologizing for the immense hassle we had put them through by painting their fence without permission. I explained, still in the doorway, that we had been thoughtless in not asking for permission, and the beer was a little sorry for the hassle they had to go through flipping the fence panels. She invited us all into the house. I could see the fences from the kitchen. It was like torture, and we then met the husband. A very different experience, this one. He was not welcoming because he has a vest on and was quite sweaty when he came downstairs. B, he greeted us with, "Who's this?" He was drinking a bottle of Stella. It was only 1 PM and I realized I may have made a mistake coming over with an Italian beer. Nevertheless, I explained again that we were here because we were really sorry for the hassle for him having to flip the fences, hence the beer, and he accepted that it had been a lot of work for him flipping them with his son called over, especially to help. He was still sporadically very angry that we had not asked his permission, which he made very clear several times. We got chatting about football, which helped, and he was easing up. We had a few drinks in his garden as I tried to keep my kids under control, and after about half an hour he said that he would flip the fences back if we promised to ask him about any more structural changes that would affect the view from his property. I bit my lip. These do not seem like structural changes, but I acknowledge my mistake and once again apologized profusely. Together we flipped all the fence panels back using a rickety step ladder and ended on great terms. They are sound people and I felt like a bit of a cock for the mistake. I have learned a lot Reddit, not least about the need for tact and diplomacy ahead of legal rights. Seriously, thank you for your help explaining things to me on the last thread. I should have been a bit angry had I met them before, but this worked out a lot better. I'm honestly well chuffed right now. We have our fences back, my wife is not pissed at me, and I have learned a huge amount about the law, albeit almost too late. And guys, I'm wondering, ever since this pandemic started, did you have any issues with your neighbors? From my experience, since people go out less and less, there's actually less chance to meet your neighbor outside the door and for you to get annoyed at them. Either way, please let me know what you experienced so far in the comments. And the next one is titled Dodgy Type Concerned Neighbors. And by the way guys, this is also from Legal Advice UK, and it is, in my opinion, as UK as it can get. It's a really funny story. Either way, it starts out like this. Hi all, hope you're all well and of sound mind. I'm not too bad, thanks. Now, we reside on a small estate, I guess you would call it, lots of bungalows and granny flats in the area, and around 3 months ago I saw a weird type in the park when taking my little dog for a walk. He's got a shaven head, tattoos on his head, quite fat, wears teddy bear trousers, a vest and mumbles to himself and has jerky arm movements. On Sunday I went into the local petrol station, and as I went in he came running out with a couple of bottles of Coke. The guys inside said he had nicked them. Also, a few weeks ago I saw him in the park. He was laying on the main path sunbathing. Everyone had to step around him or over him. Anyway, I was talking to the poor old woman opposite called AG. She's saying her and her husband are moving out because this guy lives behind them and he's always pissed up and shouting and hollering, culminating with him throwing stuff outside the other morning at 3 AM. They are poor old pensioners and terrified of him, and personally I think he's very unstable and won't be long before he kicks off and either stabs someone or goes way over the top. What can be done about it in a legal sense? I told Edgy no way should she have to move because of him. He should be sectioned in my eyes and taken away to the local loony bin or placed elsewhere where vulnerable old pensioners are not present. Any advice, guys? And a user in the comments said, if you have concerns that he's committing criminal offenses, call the police. If you are concerned about his mental well-being, speak to the council. There's not much else of a legal answer to offer. Edgy may want to take legal advice to consider any civil claims, but from your description I don't think any are likely. And the next one is an update to the tattooed man's story. It is titled Man with Tattooed Head, Tin of Bud in the Park. Afternoon all, hope you are well and of sound mind. I'm not too bad, thanks. Now, I posted here the other day about the woman who lives opposite, Dear Edgy, and her poor husband Steve. They've been driven half potty by a guy who lives behind them who is extremely unstable. Anyway, this morning early on I realized I'd got no pop in the house, so I nipped to Tesco Express, and as I was parking up the car, Edgy came out of her house. She whizzed down the path and called me over. She had got a petition up, one she made herself, and asked me if I would sign it for her. I asked what it is about, and Dear Edgy said it was to send to the council to get the weirdo out of the small estate. I gladly signed it, and I told her that I had seen him yesterday in the park when I was taking my little dog for a walk. He was wearing his usual teddy bear trousers, vest, and was guzzling a tin of Budweiser, and he was unsteady on his feet, and a couple of young girls nearby were terrified of him. Anyway, I told Edgy this, and she said the woman who lives next to her has been made ill by him. She's been taken to bed with the fear as the bloke with the tattooed head was banging on her window the other night at 3 AM. Also, Edgy said this bloke lives with 2 others who are always off their heads on drugs. Not really a question as such, but what do you think the council will do about the petition? And I know a lot of people on here are interested on what is happening to Edgy anyway, and I like to keep them informed. And a user in the comments said, the council will ignore the petition and they might warn you to be careful not to persecute a vulnerable person who very likely has mental health problems. Even submitting the petition and obliging the council to respond will be a waste of time of the staff, which is paid for from the public purse. Neither the police or the council are going to remove someone from their home for acting and looking a bit weird, and they are certainly not going to do it to satisfy a curtain twitcher's witch hunt. If Edgy has been harassed or intimidated by this bloke in the past, she needs to speak to the police on their non-emergency number. If he's frequently being disruptively noisy, she can speak with the council's environmental health team. And now the final update to the tattoo-headed bloke abducted, taken away story. Hi all, hope you're all well and sound-minded. I'm not too bad, thanks. Mods delete if inappropriate, but I thought I would post this up as I had many messages concerning my last topic on here and lots of people were interested about what was happening. As many of you know, I have neighbors who live opposite called Edgy and Steve, and them and their next door neighbors Trish and Stu have been terrorized and driven ill by a recent addition to our small estate. The addition was a big guy with a bald head which was covered in ink. He had what looked like swastika tats on his guts and he was very unstable and would wander the park in a vest and teddy bear trousers while wigging beer and grunting and having jerky arm movements. Personally, I saw a couple of young girls terrified of him when he walked by them, throwing his arms about. Anyway, yesterday evening I'd been to KFC for my tea and when I got back I parked up and saw Edgy leaning over her fence. I got out the motor and she called me over. I said, "Hey Edgy, how's it hanging?" She was giddy with excitement and said, "They came for him." I knew what she was on about, but I said, "What do you mean there, Edgy?" And she said, "That weird bloke we got the petition up about, I took it to the council a few weeks ago and last night they came and took him away." I asked if it was the council who had came, but she said it was about 8 coppers who took him away at about 11 at night. I said I had not seen him for a while and she was saying he'd been shut in his house all this time drinking and taking drugs with his 2 lodgers. Also, she said he had heard rumors people had gotten up a petition against him and he was angry about it. Then I asked if he had gone for good and she said her friend Sheila, whose husband's brothers is a copper in the area, said that they had taken him to somewhere near Brighton of all places and apparently they can look after him there in more of a secure, out of the way place. I said to Edgy, "I bet you're pleased he's buggered off, Edgy. And what does Steve and Trish and Stu say?" She said they were going to drink to him going this weekend and they would be a lot happier with him gone and they can relax. Edgy was saying Trish has gone grey with worry about all this and Stu has been trying to calm her down all the time. Anyway, I thought I would let everyone know what happened and hope you are all enjoying the sunshine. And a moderator in the comments said, "Thanks for the update, send Edgy our best. What did you get at KFC?" By the way, this is our update of the week now. I gotta say guys, this is the kind of story you probably hear in a British pub on a Friday night. For some reason I really enjoy Legal Advice UK, it just feels very different from the American one. Please let me know what you think about Legal Advice UK in the comments. And the last one is not related to legal advice, but it is a story posted on r/ripe stories by user Mamasan and it is titled "Dr. Mad He Didn't Get to Play Catch." Hi all, and Ripe has the rights. Many years ago, my mother married my father and he adopted my then 4-year-old sister. 2 years later, my mom was due with my brother. Now, we did not have that many fun medical toys as we do now because of how big my mother was. The doctor ordered an X-ray to just see how many babies there were. The day of the X-ray, my dad had to do flight patrol, so my mom decided to pull a joke on him. She went to his car that was parked in front of the squadron hangar and left a note on his steering wheel. It said, "We are having twins." My mom expected my dad to come rushing home and she would tell him it is just one baby. Instead, my dad went to the officers club and he and his squadron buddies got rip-roaring drunk in celebration of having twins. By the time my dad got home, my mom was ready to smack him with a cast iron frying pan. As the birth got closer, my mom confided to her doctor that my sister was born with almost no labor pain and she admitted that she just felt the urge to urinate. A nurse had to drag her away from a toilet because she started to deliver. The doctor and nurses estimated that my mom was in labor for approximately 90 minutes and also a nurse had to monitor mom constantly just to time the contractions since she did not feel any pain. The doctor assured my parents that it would not happen like that again. When my mom felt an overwhelming urge to urinate, she made my dad get the station wagon. My dad got a neighbor to watch my sister while he tried to get my mom into the car. For some reason, my mom could not bend to sit, so she just laid down in the back seat. When they arrived at the hospital, my dad just pulled straight to the emergency room door, jumping out and screaming his wife was having a baby. The ER orderlies sprang into action and opened the back door with a clear view of my brother's head starting to emerge. They yanked my mother onto a gurney and rushed her to the delivery room. When they spoke with the doctor, they talked together and figured out that it only took 45 minutes for my brother. 5 years later, it was my turn. The military are great at record keeping and had all the information on my mom's deliveries. We were stationed on Alameda Island in the middle of the San Francisco Bay. It took over 20 minutes to cross the bridge to reach the mainland if traffic was light. This Navy base was home to several big ships, but the base itself was on the small side. The medical clinic was limited on what it could do, so when the clinic learned of my mom's pregnancy, they put the entire base on alert. This included having a chopper on a 24-hour standby to ferry her to the hospital 40 minutes away. The entire base was excited because there was a good chance the baby would be born on the island. The further along my mom got, the more tense everybody was. The doctors even trained my dad and one of our neighbors on how to deliver a baby. No one said anything, but I'm pretty sure there were some bets on when and where I would be born. As she got closer to her due date, the doctors told her to head to the hospital if she felt anything at all, even if it was in her head. Come the day she just felt a bit uneasy, she asked her neighbor to drive her to the hospital. Just as they were pulling out of the driveway, my dad arrived home. They rolled down the window and yelled at Dad that they are heading to the hospital. My dad jumped out of his car and ran over to where they were and climbed into the back seat. Upon arrival at the hospital, they were rushed up to the maternity ward. They got mom settled into a room and had the doctor come check her. He placed a nurse with her to put a stethoscope on her belly to keep track of the contractions and noticed she was not having any dilation. So he told her she was not having the baby anytime soon and said he's going to get some coffee. He patted her on the foot and left. Having heard what the doctor said, my dad told the friends he would stay there and get a ride to the base in the morning and they should just go on home. Before he could finish telling them, suddenly the entire maternity ward became active like a swarm of pissed off bees. No one could find out what was going on, but they understood something of an emergency had just happened. Back with mom, the nurse monitoring her contractions suddenly started yelling out for help. With no clue of what was happening, they immediately prepped my poor mother for giving birth. Quickly entering was some unknown doctor fully masked. He delivered the baby and left. Then came my mother's regular baby doctor. He chewed her out for having the baby without him. As everything started calming down, a nurse dragged my father into mom's room and their friends followed along. As they admired the new baby, they were told from the start of labor to the birth was only 15 minutes. The doctor came back and apologized. It seemed for her delivery of me, it only required a doctor to play catch. And guys, unfortunately we have already reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and if you haven't already, please also go to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where I upload exclusive Reddit videos starting at just $3 a month. This is a great way to support me in case you are interested, and the chance for me to become independent from YouTube revenue. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.